back to that tune at the end of the service. If you're like, that sounds familiar, but I'm not sure where from, you'll see. We'll continue with Shalom Aleichem on page 142. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Melachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem Leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Melachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruchuni Leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Melachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Tzitchem Leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Melachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Really nice to see all of you here. Someone remarked just a few minutes ago, oh, there must not be a bar bat mitzvah because the thing in the middle is gone. So that was a great observation. And it's true. We've been having all these blessings of these wonderful simchas of B'nai Mitzvah these past few weeks, but it's kind of nice to just have a quiet Shabbat and to be without our plywood in the middle here. But, you know, I think this Shabbat and this weekend of Labor Day and back to school and leading into the holidays and everything, it feels like there is a change of seasons happening, that we are in this moment of transition from the end of summer into this new year. And it's a good opportunity to just pause and reflect and be in community and in this sacred time of Shabbat. So to bring the light into our sanctuary and to light the Shabbat candles, I want to invite the Kleiners and Yael, my daughter, to come and lead us in the reading before the lighting of the Shabbat candles and then the Shabbat candle lighting. If you'd like to follow along, it's on page 121. So the reading is going to be all the way in the middle. Come here. Podium.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us.
As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik neh shel Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Oh, we lost it. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, those are trick candles. I believe in you, candle.
Tricky candles.
There we go.
There we go. Okay, thanks, everyone. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you. So we're going to turn now to the beginning of our Kabbalat Shabbat service with a series of psalms that are all about singing. You hear this word shiru a lot in the Kabbalat Shabbat psalms. Shir l'Adonai, Mizmor Shiru, and that means to sing. So we're literally going to sing about singing as a way to warm up into our Shabbat service, create a break from the rest of the week, bringing in the sacred time. We'll start with Lechuner Anana, page 130. And singing is the most important thing. So please sing, whether it's the Hebrew words or Yalalai. Let's raise our voices together. Lechuner Anana l'Adonai, Nariya letzur yishenu. Lechuner Anana l'Adonai, Nariya letzur yishenu. Nekadma fana betoda, mizmirot nariya lo. Nekadma fana betoda, mizmirot nariya lo. Yalai lai 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 lai, lai 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 lai, lai 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 lai, lai 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 lai, yalai lai 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 lai, lai 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 lai, lai 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 lai, lai 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 lai, yalai lai lai lai, yalai lai lai lai, yalai lai 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 lai, yalai lai 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 lai, yalai 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 lai lai lai, on the next page, 131, Shiru l'Adonai. Shiru l'Adonai, Shir Chadash, Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz, Shiru l'Adonai, Baruch Shemo, Basru miyom leyom Yeshuato, Zapru hagoyim kevodo, Bechol ha'amim nifleotav, Ki gadol Adonai, ulam meod, norahu, al kol Elohim, ay ay ay, yalai lalai lai, yalai lalai lai, top of 134, Zamru Ladonai. Zameru Ladonai Lechinor, Lechinor Vekol Zimra. Zameru Ladonai Lechinor, Lechinor Vekol Zimra. Zameru, Zamru Ladonai, Zameru. So we're ready now to welcome in that Sabbath bride with Lecha Dodi, page 138. And when we get to that final verse, we're going to rise and physically greet Shabbat as we face the entrance. We'll tell you when. Lecha Dodi likat kalai Adonai 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 Pnei Shabbat Kabbalat. Lecha Dodi likat kalai Adonai 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 Pnei Shabbat Kabbalat. Shamor v'zachor v'dibur echad tishmi'anu el miuchad Adonai echad u'sho'echad L'shem modi v'ered ve'letila Lecha Dodi likat kalai Adonai 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 Pnei Shabbat Kabbalat. Lecha Dodi likat kalai Adonai 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 Pnei Shabbat Kabbalat. Likrat Shabbat meluchenecha Ki mekor haberacha Merosh yikevem nesucha Sof maaseh v'machshavat tefila Lecha Dodi likat kalai Adonai 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 Pnei Shabbat Kabbalat. Lecha Dodi likat kalai Adonai 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 Pnei Shabbat Kabbalat. Verse 3. Mikdash melech ir melucha umitzei mitoch hafecha Rav lach shevet ben nekavacha ve'hu yachamol alai chemla Lecha Dodi likat kalai Adonai 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 Pnei Shabbat Kabbalat. Lecha Dodi likat kalai Adonai 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 Pnei Shabbat Kabbalat. Verse 5. Hitoreri, hitoreri, Iva olech umiori, uri, uri, shitaveri, Evon Adonai alaich nigla. Lecha Dodi likat kalai Adonai 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 Pnei Shabbat Kabbalat. Lecha Dodi likat kalai Adonai 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 Pnei Shabbat Kabbalat.
We rise and face the door for the last verse.
Boi v'shalom ateret mala Gam lesimcha u'letzora Tov emunei am segura Boi chala, boi chala. Facing front, last time all together. Lecha Dodi likrat kalai Adonai 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 Pnei Shabbat Kabbalat. Lecha Dodi likrat kalai Adonai 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 Pnei Shabbat
standing as we turn forward now to page 263 as we prepare for Ma'ariv and Chatzi Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה,
אמן.
ועל מעריב חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכנו וביומכנו ובחייך כל בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו, אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם לא לעמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעשה ויתעלש מדקות שווה לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן ועלמה ואמרו אמן. ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
Please be seated. Turn to page 265. We'll read together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim בחוכמה פותח שערים, ובתבונה משנה עתים, ומחליף את הזמנים, ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו. בורא יום ולילה, גולל אור מפני חושך, וחושך מפני אור. ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו. חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב ערבים.
אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת. תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, ושוכבנו קומנו, נשיח בחוקך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך, לעולם לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגד יומם ולילה ואהבתך. אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם בביתך ודיברת בם, ושבתך בביתך ולכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, ושעתם מאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם, אמת.
We turn now to 270 for Mi Chamocha. We'll hear again those melodies of the season that will accompany us on this, in this prayer.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora deilot osef malchutecha rauvanecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe uMiriam, li'anu ve'ameru Adonai imloch le'olam va'en. V'ne'emar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov ugelo mi'ad chazak mimenu baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, leshalom. Vehamidenu shomreinu lechayim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, haboreh sukat shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim.
We sing together Veshamru, page 272.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, ביני ובין בני ישראל, ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. ים בדאי דאי דאי, שבת שבת, ים בדאי דאי דאי, שבת שבת, ים בדאי דאי דאי, שבת שבת, שבת שבת שלום. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש. ים בדאי דאי דאי, שבת שבת, ים בדאי דאי דאי, שבת שבת, ים בדאי דאי דאי, Shabbat, 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 Shalom.
I invite you to please rise as we join on page 274 in the Amidah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avoteinu ve'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'koneh Hakol, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, צומח נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישוע ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh.
Amen.
Please be seated. We turn now to page 279 and join together in Ritzeh.
Ritzeh Adonai Eloheinu ve'amecha Yisrael u'tefilatam be'ava tekabel u'tehi leratzon tamid avodat Yisrael Israel Amecha El Karov Lechol Korav Penei El Avadecha Vechoneinu Shefoch Rochacha Aleinu V'techezei Eineinu ושובך לציון ברחמים ברוך אתה אדוני המחזיר שכינתו לציון.
Page 280, our blessing of gratitude is one we are always, I think, resonating with. I think it's maybe the easiest of all of the prayers in the siddur to connect with. Of course, we should say thank you. That's something we learn when we're very, very young. And yet, sometimes it's the things that we, I think, appreciate not in the moment, but maybe even more in hindsight, that can also be blessings, that we can see that something that perhaps was unanticipated or a challenge or something that was a surprise can really be its own blessing. And so maybe this Shabbat we can think about those moments, maybe even in these recent days, that have been blessings too. Things that we didn't realize were before us, but indeed are worthy of gratitude. So we'll join together the bottom of that page 284 lines from the bottom. V'al nisecha shebechol yom imanu.
The melody jumps around a little bit with the words, so just follow me if you don't know this. Okay. Ve'al nisecha shebechol yom erev avoker. ערב הבוקר וצהריים מעולם, מעולם קיווינו לך, מעולם קיווינו לך. On the top of 281. הטוב כי לחלו רחמך, והמרחם כי לא תמו חסדיך. בחסדך מעולם קיווינו לך, מעולם קיווינו לך.
Page 282, Shalom Rav.
שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. כי אתה אדון לכל השלום. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם, תשים לעולם, תשים לעולם.
Take some time now for our own silent prayer. We'll turn to page 371. So we take a moment in our service to offer a mishaberach, a prayer of healing for those in our community, our extended family who are in need of healing of body and of soul at this moment. And share the names of those we are thinking of, in particular Harry Goldstein, Victor Lewin, Melody and Yoel Robin's Paradise, Yaniv Kadar, Fran Goldberg, Rose Muchnick, Doreen Irving, Matt Good, Alicia Eckersley, Tsipa Bat-Ita, Hannah Bild, Leto and Jay, Mordechai Ben Sara, Alan Pitch, Yona Neri Ben Avraham Basara, Adele Kirkle, Julian Carney, Asher Gavriel Ben Mordechai Yehoshua Vasara Elishev, Riley Tregabov, David Coulter, Apollonia Wilczynski, Elena Cobb, Annette Albert, Carla Zivit, Rose Godfrey, Doris Medved, Janet Gelb,
Jean Angus, Judy Steiner Lossberg, David Shlomo Gorney, Andrea Jarzbiak. If there are other people you're thinking of you'd like to include their names, I invite you to share them aloud at this time.
Mi sheberach avotenu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Well, Shabbat Shalom again to everyone. I don't think I've ever seen the announcements so full. There's a lot happening, the shul coming up. So I'll just make note of a few of these items, but you can read more on your own as well. To mention, first of all, we're really excited. We're starting a new education program for our grade 8 and 9 students this year, which we're calling grade 8 and 9 Kala. Kala is kind of like a retreat. So it's basically going to be 4 separate retreats throughout the year on different topics. It looks really fun. There's going to be group bonding. There's going to be learning about Tikkun Olam. We're going to be doing an interfaith learning with Catholic and Muslim teens. So it sounds really interesting, and it will be taught by our clergy. So if you have grade 8 and 9 students or know them, please encourage them to sign up for this program. Next week, we are really delighted that we are going to be hosting a mayoral forum for all of the candidates who are running for mayor of Vancouver are going to be here. This is a program hosted by CJA and Success, and we're very, very honored to host that. So that will be at 6 o'clock on Wednesday this coming week. And so please do join us in person. You can also watch it streaming as well. I'll mention that we've started also this summer a new babies group. So babies get to come, and their parents are invited too, because they can't drive or anything yet. So it is really, really been wonderful to have new parents to be able to come together and connect with one another, and also learn a little bit about parenting and do some Jewish things together. So actually this month, on the 15th, we're actually having a wonderful session on sleep, how to help your baby sleep so you can sleep too. So that will be on the 15th of September, and includes lunch as well. Our next Shalom Shishim program is on the 20th of September. It's going to be lunch and a flower arranging workshop, which sounds really sweet and great, which will also be a nice way to bring in the new year. And as, of course, we've been saying, the new year is coming, and our high holiday ticket information, hopefully you received by email about how to make sure you register for tickets for our services. I also want to invite everyone after our service to join us in our social hall, of course, for our Oneg Shabbat. This Shabbat, it is sponsored by Charlotte and Jeffrey Bell in honor of the recent marriage of their son, Zach and Tori, and I heard it was a lovely wedding that was in July, so thank you to the Bells for that sponsorship. Did I miss anything? Andrew Cohen? No? Okay. So, I don't know about you, but this week, when I heard the news about the death of Gorbachev, I went, oh, yeah, Gorbachev. I hadn't thought about him for a very, very long time. And I was immediately brought back in my mind to being 12 years old. Because when I was 12 years old, Mikhail Gorbachev visited the state of Minnesota where I grew up. It was 1990. And it was like the state went crazy. I have this memory of everyone being so excited that Gorbachev was coming, because this was the time, of course, when the Soviet Union was becoming a democracy and things were changing and the world was really looking different. And I think it was that feeling of possibility, that feeling of, wow, the world order is changing, that something is new, that was really incredible. I mean, even to my adolescent brain, but I don't think just to 12-year-olds, I think to everyone, to the world, it seemed like there was some new possibility for our entire world. And thinking about then and thinking about now, it's quite a contrast, of course, particularly in Russia, that our systems of governance, the way in which the world operates, we are going through an incredible stress test right now. And it's concerning and it's difficult and it's, I guess, humbling in a way to think about how fragile all of it really is. So maybe me at 12, and I guess we could put all of us in that moment, I think everyone here, except for Ella, who's over there, might remember that moment. And maybe that was a blip in the timeline of history. I mean, many of you here lived through really difficult political moments. Fascism, communism, all of these really difficult ways that we know that sometimes the world can go. But I like to have hope that this blip, as it were, is not just a blip. That political stability has the potential to be long-lasting if we, meaning all of us as citizens in our respective countries, can make it so. But what I've come to realize is that it does take very serious work. That the status quo can be turned so quickly, and if people become disengaged from the society around them, instability and corruption can quickly ascend. In reading this week's parashah, Shoftim, I realized that what I'm thinking about is no great Kiddush, meaning it's nothing new that I just thought about. It's a very, very old understanding of the importance of being active and engaged in making sure that the governance around us is balanced. Shoftim is all about this, about finding a way to balance power. And I want to think about this in three distinct buckets. So the first is how the parasha opens. It begins by discussing the legal system, the way the Torah wants us to think about judges and justice. The Torah stresses that judges must decide cases justly, as I guess judges should, but to show no favoritism and, importantly, to take no bribes. The Torah portion clearly lays out rules for the exercise and limitation of their power. We learn that it's only when the judges are bound by such rules that their decisions are legitimate and can be enforced. So the judges, they must have these ways of operating and the ways in which evidence is brought forth with proper witnesses, the right number of witnesses, etc., help to make that system function. The second category for balancing power in the biblical ideal has to do with a king. In the parashah, it says that actually there shouldn't be a king, that really the only king is God, but that the people are going to want a king. And so if the people should want a king, which, spoiler alert, later they do, that they have to be very, very careful, and the Torah is cautious about the corruption of power. The political, the military, and economic power of the king is thus limited, functionally and symbolically. So, for example, the king's powers are limited by Torah, by the scroll of the teaching the king is supposed to keep right next to him, next to his throne always. It's kind of like, Torah is a general constitutional framework, but there's also these specific rules about kings within the Torah that they must be reminded of. That he's not to have many wives, many horses, or much gold and silver. So the political, the military, and the economic power of the king is thereby limited and kept in check. And then the third arena is in the temple. Temple is the host, of course, for another type of leadership in the society. Excuse me. The Kohanim and the Leviim, the priests and the Levites, manage the temple, conduct its sacrifices, instruct the people in the details of worship and purity. But though they have religious power, they are kept in check by the limits on their wealth and possessions. They have no inheritance of land and rely on the tithing from the people. The rabbis speak of Israel as crowned with 3 crowns: the crown of kingship, the crown of Torah, and the crown of priesthood. In early Jewish history, these 3 crowns were for the most part kept distinct as rival centers of power in Jewish society. And it's interesting that most democracies have echoed this model of religious, judicial, governing bodies kept separate from one another and kept with limits so that their exploitative or oppressive potentials are restricted. But all of this, of course, takes work. These things don't just happen by some natural equilibrium. Torah provides us with the values toward which we should aspire to live in a just and equitable society, but the onus is upon us to make sure that the balance remains. Just governance is dependent on the gatekeepers, those who can judge the people without favoritism or bias, those who can be critical of both the governing class and the governed, those who can place limits on authority, and those who overstep the bounds of law and morality. I want to go back just again to the judges and that one mention I said of bribery. Why bribery is really highlighted something that is such a fundamental sin or problem for judges. Because bribery violates the most important assumption of a just system, that all are equal in the eyes of the law. None are exempt from judgment, including the wealthy and the powerful. This parasha gives us one of the most beautiful and inspiring injunctions in Torah, one that we hear quite often. Tzedek, tzedek tirdof. Justice, justice you shall pursue, that you may thrive and occupy the land that God is giving you. So justice, to be a society that we work towards, that we hold up as our ideal, it must be pursued. It doesn't come by itself, but only after our own involvement, our own activism. The pursuit of justice is what is essential for inheriting the promised land in Torah, but really for inheriting a just life itself. Justice, justice shall we all pursue, so that we may live in stability and peace. Shabbat shalom. So it is my pleasure now. I'd like to invite Julia Ratke, who is here with us and with her family tonight to join us on the bima. Julia went to the mikveh a couple weeks ago, and we want to give her a blessing on that occasion. So we're going to invite everyone, if you would, to please rise. So, Julia, I didn't say when I invited you up that it was a conversion, because for you, it was something different. For you, going to the mikveh was an affirmation. And you, as some of you who've met Julia already know, Julia is from Hungary and grew up in a family and in a time where Judaism couldn't be practiced openly and publicly. And in coming here and settling in Canada, you were able to find your way into Jewish community and to Jewish practice and to strong Jewish identity. And I'm so delighted, and all of us are so delighted, that you found your way here to Temple Shalom, and that as in a moment as we place a Torah in your arms, that you feel that, I hope, that chain of transmission through all the generations that came before you, through all of these difficult moments in our history and in the difficult instability of the world of which I just talked about, that you can today stand proudly and to declare your Jewish self with pride. And so we're going to place this Torah in your arms. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. We want to give you a blessing as well on this occasion, Julia. In the words of our tradition through the generations.
Adonai ve'yishmerecha.
Yeni ratzon, may God bless you and keep you.
Yaed Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka.
Yeni ratzon, may God's light shine upon you and be gracious to you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Shalom.
Yeni ratzon. May God always be with you, Julia, and grant you that most precious of gifts, the gift of shalom, of wholeness, and peace. Amen.
Amen.
I invite you to remain standing for Aleinu on page 586.
Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו, בגובה מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום בהשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים, בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת, אין עוד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. Page 592, a reading before Kaddish. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved, and if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die. People do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. Shabbat, as we prepare for the Mourner's Kaddish, we share the names of those for whom we are in Shiva and Shloshim. And I invite you, as I recite the name of your loved one, if you would please rise in your place as you honor their memory. Faye Anticole, Brandon Colton, Dr. Shirley Epstein, Judith Calla, Anita Curson, Irving Ozier, Ian Power, and Irvin Smith. And we mark yahrzeit this week of Zelda Abelson, Brenda Ankenman, Leon Menzaken, Albert Burns, Lily Brownstein, Celia Cherry, Jack Chochinov, Stella Cohen, Jack Korber, Amelia Devlin, Helen DeYoung, John Carling Fraser, Paul Goldberg, Ann Hansen, Morris Huberman, Francis Huberman, Brian Konevsky, Minnie Karlinski, Robert Mahler, Ethel Mahler, Chaya Mahler, Liba Mahler, Leah Mahler, Harry Matus, Roberta Michelson, Rose Niddickman, Maxwell Rappaport, Lillian Roberts, Ida Benenson Ruskin, Melva Siegel, Mel Sprackman, Sydney Stern, Michael Tinker, Sarah Trocki, Anna Van Villette, Dina Vavilitsky, Mary Voth, Gwyn Wilmot. There are others who have come to say Kaddish. I invite you to rise and share the name of your loved one at this time. We stand beside those who mourn now as one congregation. I invite those who will to join on page 598 in these words of Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah, v'alma divra chirutei v'amlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevorach le'olam olamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei dekudsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו,
Amen.
Amen. Yizichronam livracha. May their memories always be a blessing as we say together, Amen. Amen. So I invite everyone to remain standing. We're going to turn back to page 122 for Kiddush and Motzi and the sounding of the shofar as well.
כל צבאם, ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישפוט ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה, ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות צבריל חיים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן.
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו בשבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו זיכרון למעשה בראשית כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש זכר ליציאת מצרים כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Amen.
Chaim.
Chaim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen.
Okay. Tekiah. Woo. Okay, the final answer on what melody did we start the service with? It's on page 662, top of the page. Achat sha'alti me'ed Adonai otav vakesh. Achat sha'alti me'ed Adonai otav vakesh. Shivti beveit Adonai kol yemei לחזות בנועם בנועם אדוני ולבקר בהיכלו לחזות בנועם בנועם אדוני ולבקר בהיכלו. שבת שלום.